Howdy ho. This is not supposed to be a usual video. This is supposed to be a quick, to the point video. Therefore, there's no face cam. But anyway, I was watching this Rusty Buckets video. Only subscribers and members can comment. Like, this is brand fucking new as far as I know and understand. Like, what is happening? And then obviously comments are not actually turned off. That's a thing that's been around for years on YouTube, which is also fucking stupid. Restricted mode, but that's that I know of. That's only for live streams, potentially mature content. Okay, so maybe it's age gating. Maybe that's what it is, because everything's going age gated. No, it says you can't view comments on the videos you watch. So no, that wouldn't be it. So yeah, they don't directly address it then. They don't directly address it. That's what we're seeing here, because it only has it if it's actually turned off, so they're disabled. If it's restricted mode, which obviously is not, it's obviously not made for kids. Art tracks, obviously not that. And then may have turned off content, comments, but that's it. And then you have pause comments, but it's not a pause, because I ran into that before too. So it's really bizarre, because this is something completely different. So I'm confident that proves that this is brand spanking new. You wouldn't think, you think that would just mean making a normal comment on a channel, right? Or a video of a channel. You wouldn't think it would include replying to people, or replying to replies. Huh? That's fucking ridiculous. That's infuriatingly stupid. But if we go to Google Maps, another thing I want to show you that I stumbled across yesterday, because again, I am a map fiend and a geography addict. I fucking love both of those things. And obviously working with Google Earth and Google Maps to try to identify with my, cascaded transit expansion project, and also potential new bus routes or alterations, which I have to alter some of the bus routes I've proposed in one of the first videos in that series, by the way. But, so every so often you get bored and you start like looking at reviews. And I actually started looking at hotel reviews just for the fuck of it, and some other things up here. I slowly started to find myself kind of going down, and then I'm like, you know what? I should look at apartments. And so I'm like, because again, we're considering moving soon. And so I'm like looking at different things, and I was like, I bet, so these apartments, Hidden Creek apartments, ought to be fucking expensive. I clicked, found out, yes, typical reviews, right? Everything's got the reviews. Great. Okay. I went here, no reviews. But then because I started to think about that, I'm like, hang on a second, that doesn't make any real sense. And yeah, there's a school here, and so I went like this, no reviews. And then I started going down through the area. Bethany Elementary School off of 174th, nope. Westview, nope. Rock Creek, nope. And you all of a sudden start to realize that all the schools no longer have, so this would have been my alma mater if I wasn't homeschooled. No, and I know there's reviews on these schools, right? Westview and fucking Aloha and Mountain View, which is right here. And then I decided to go to, obviously, Earl Hassel, which is my elementary school alma mater, quote unquote. Nothing. And I know I personally reviewed on this. I reviewed the school on here before, years ago. And there was a handful of former students that did as well, and current ones, of course. And then Cooper Mountain. I mean, it's just literally still in view, right? These are literally just so close together. It still averaged 32 kids per classroom when I was in. But yeah, like no schools have any reviews. I'm like, does that mean that Google removed the ability to review schools? Because that's fucked up. That doesn't make any sense. Why the fuck would they remove the reviews and then also remove the ability to review them? That just doesn't make any sense. That's royally fucked up. I had this thought, just it inserted my head. I'm like, I bet. And it was literally in this exact sequence. I went to Huber Park, and then I'm like, okay, that confirms it. And if they did that, then I bet police departments no longer have their reviews present. So I went right to downtown Hills Burrito, to the HPD, right? Nothing. I know this was reviewed recently. So I looked at it recently because of my mom's assault, right? Within the last couple of months. So I know this is like brand new. So it suddenly doesn't have reviews anymore. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And so after like looking at City Hall, which is here, so the courthouse technically, looking at, the Civic Center, which is technically City Hall, I believe, Like, all of them are still reviewed. So then naturally what I decided to do is go over to Washington County Sheriff's Office, because again, I know that this had tons of reviews. Nothing. They removed the ability to review police departments. So all the reviews that were on any police department no longer exist, which is just completely fucked up. So here we go. Yeah, East Precinct. Yep, this was reviewed. It's no longer reviewed. That's fucked up for a large number of reasons, that schools no longer can be reviewed and they remove the reviews. Like, see, apparently this one, I thought maybe this one would be a gray area, right? And like, okay, loophole, this one works because it's kind of a special school, right? No, apparently not. But if you go to like colleges and universities and stuff like that, it's still present. But again, if it's considered a normal school, nah. Police departments, you can't review them anymore. All the reviews that were there are gone. I even went to Valley Catholic, actually. Nothing. Very interesting. So the reason why this is a bad thing, and it's actually a very dangerous thing to do, it's not just bad, it's dangerous, it's genuinely dangerous, is the fact that people rely on these reviews, especially to be consistently updated by current and or former students and parents and teachers, to get an accurate gauge of what schools, if they have the ability to have school choice, what schools they're willing to have their kids put into or fight for them to go into. Okay? And on top of that, it also tells them the safety of the school and the surrounding area. It tells them how good the teachers are, how good the curriculum is, how they teach, how maybe even the average class size, how many bullies there might be, how often that is, you know, all sorts of different details that are very, very fucking important to be able for parents and potential future students to be able to see and find out about. There's a lot that's imperative and really big. And the thing with the schools that's fucked up about this as well, another aspect that's fucked up about it, if you remove the ability to review them and also read the previously added reviews to schools on places like Google Maps, then that means that you're pretty much forcing people to pay up and pay for specific online official review services. There's so much wrong with that. And so basically this proves they're trying to hide. They're basically hiding from accountability. They're hiding from reality. And my first thought was like, is Google going to try to claim that it's like considered to be unsafe for reviews to happen on schools? I mean, I guess theoretically you could argue maybe, because if a current student or parent goes and reviews and talks about their kid or mentions their kids by name, right, a student by name in there, then yeah, that might pose, I suppose, some sort of a risk, obviously, because you're giving some private information that you shouldn't about your children. I mean, I get it. It makes sense. You can be figured out. If that's not the case, let's say that's not their claim, because that's a real stretch. I mean, that's a real tough attempt to defend removing ability to review schools. To just, you know, it's a really weak attempt to justify it. It's a real big stretch to use that as your basis. I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it works at all. I think it's kind of fucked up if you think that it makes sense. It just doesn't really truly work. I mean, it's a real stretch. So my other thought is, again, like I said, it was obviously accountability. That's one of the reasons why I immediately went to police departments as well, because police departments, you know, are the first place that are going to be anti-accountability, especially in the US, for very obvious reasons, and even more so on the West Coast states. So naturally, that's why I defaulted to that, because I knew it would be a civic-related thing, right? So if it's schools, it's got to be some other civic service, and the first one that's going to be joining schools would be probably police departments. And I was right. So this proves to me, and I think it is universal, that the truth is that it's about accountability, and they don't want to be held accountable. Because again, odds are is that their claim specifically is going to be related in surrounding bias, right? They don't want people who've been arrested or been through the circuit court system or have had to deal with the police and their bullshit sometimes and their lack of willingness to do anything. You know, obviously you have Hillsborough PD that proves it as well. You have the East Precinct of Washington County, you know, has interviews. So yeah, I guarantee it's about the bias thing, but and then they could argue because the bias, it also improves officer safety or whatever, right? It's totally like you can just immediately grasp what the hell the power players attempts at public rationale and defense for this is going to be. That's why I immediately went to look at the police department and then the sheriff's office, because I'm like, after the schools, because I'm like, this is the first place that's going to fucking do this in civic services as police departments. And lo and behold, it's just that easy to figure out how this fucking works. And obviously it sets another reason why this is very dangerous and bad is it sets a really dangerous precedent, because if they can do that with police departments, they can do that with city halls, they can do that with mayoral offices, they can do that with government facilities of other kinds, they can eventually do that with universities, they could do that with, they could rationalize doing that with medical centers and hospitals and such, like, you know, the Tuality here, which is technically OHSU, unfortunately now, but you get the idea. They can start doing that as well. And again, that's really fucking dangerous, because it is damaging as all hell to find yourself in a position where they're starting to remove your ability to give your own opinion, your own experiences, and share them publicly, especially in a free and open format that's public, like Google Maps. That's why I wanted to make this video and showcase this, because this is, I mean, again, this is Google Maps. YouTube is a Google product. So Alphabet Inc., or if you want to call it Google, or if you want to call it YouTube and Maps specifically, it doesn't really matter, because Alphabet's the ultimate umbrella corporation that then owns Google, that then owns YouTube, that then owns Maps, obviously, which is why I mentioned them. Or overlords of Palo Alto, California, as I always love to say. This is another reason why this is so bad, in my opinion, and it sets a dangerous precedent, is they did this without ever making any level of announcement. As far as I know, I haven't seen jack shit about this anywhere from anybody. Like, especially the people who I watch who would normally be talking about this have not talked about it. Not Mudahar, so sort of ordinary gamers, not Louis Rossman, even potentially Charlie, so Moist Critical, even people I rarely watch, like Asmongold. Another person a creator I can think of that would be very interested in this kind of a thing, and it would immediately normally expose this, is Deep Humor would absolutely be doing it too. None of these people have done this, and therefore I know that this is a silent, quiet thing, and that I haven't just simply missed something somehow. This is 100 billion% something that they have done quietly, silently, without any public input, without saying anything publicly that they were going to do this. That is what they have done. So if you try to like leave a review on this, you can't. You can't even put a star on it, because they literally removed the ability to do that. Do you see the fucking issues there? For people who want to be civilly informed about their homes, right, or places they might potentially choose to move to, it's imperative on these free, open, public forums like Google Maps to be able to have reviews of literally everything, especially governmental and public servant services, like police departments, like schools, like school districts, like city halls, like mayoral offices, like courts. You get the idea. And I would say it's the same for, obviously, you know, comment sections. That's why these things set such a dangerous precedence, especially considering Google is the quote-unquote leader, unfortunately. And when other tech companies like these and open public forums see these features, quote-unquote, being implemented, whether under the claims of safety, whatever else, they're gone. And like I said in the beginning there with the comments thing, that's not even listed. Like, it gives you the learn more. Okay, cool. Except you can't learn more about that specific form of doing that. And the reason why I find it to be fucked up and dangerous on the YouTube front, the YouTube comments front, is exactly because, again, besides being it's supposed to be a fair, open, public forum, where anybody can share their perspectives, their opinions, you know, so on and so forth, on whatever. Say it's a news channel, whether it's your local news or it's a national news or it's a international news source, you know, I don't know, DW from Germany, or the big black hawks, whether it's national like NBC or it's the sub-nationals of the more regional local channels, like we have KGW for NBC, we have, you know, KPTV, Channel 2 for, you know, a Disney, which is technically that own channels, though it's technically an ABC channel, which is a Disney property. It's actually, the channel itself is owned by Sinclair, which is actually the one that's famous for the Fox News ownership. So yeah, it's weird because then the Fox syndicate here in the Portland area, KPTV 12, is for some reason owned by Disney via ABC. It's fucking bizarre. It doesn't make a damn bit of sense, but it shows you how in bed they are too. But that would be a different story for a different day. It is a tale as old as time there, but the point is that, like, if it's a news source like that, or if it's that video that I from Rusty Buckets that I showed, like, I think that, especially considering it's more of a documentary, I think that that's all the more reason why it's a dangerous precedent, because it allows them to completely dictate and control who can say what, when, where, and how, and what they are allowed to say. And at any point, they can now just go and turn off the comments, they can pause them, they can go for a review and delete all of them that they personally see as disagreement with them and what they're conveying. I mean, there's just so much to that that's wildly dangerous and very, very bad. And at the end of the day, it's a huge fucking problem. And so that's why I wanted to expose these things, because we already just proved that all of this is silently done very, very recently, within no less than probably the last week. And I don't even think it's that. I'm confident it was within the last like 4 days max, because I had used Google Maps just a day or two before and had, as usual, kind of got lost in it for about an extra 10 minutes. And I did hover over the jail and the Beaverton Police, or the Hillsborough Police Departments, and they had reviews still. So I know it's within the last 4 days that this transpired. And it's completely dead silent. Like, they didn't say anything about it. They didn't make a public press release. They just did both of these things silently. And that is not at all okay when you're supposed to be an open public forum. Because, like I said, it sets a very dangerous precedent for complete control of information, for complete control of perspectives, for complete control of who's allowed to comment when, where, and how, who's allowed to review. And what you're allowed to review, especially when it's, again, these very important public services, like educational systems, so like the schools, and same with the freaking police departments. And you know, if they're already doing this with these two, they're going to do it with more things. And likelihood is it's going to be about accountability. In reality, they won't ever admit that that's what it's about, because everyone would riot. So they're going to say it's all for safety. I guarantee it's probably what their claim is going to be, that. And then, you know, safety, especially for officers and for students and teachers, because bias. And we have to eliminate bias, because then it's supposedly can be fact checked, and then it can be controlled, and it's, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's fucking stupid. It's dumb. It's fucked up. So it's important to talk about, because, yeah, this fucking spirals so fucking fast. It's actually fucking insane. Anyway, that's that. Bye-bye.